Audio check 1 2 3.
Audio check 1 2 3.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Motive Racing YouTube channel. We are here for the 9th round of the GTE League here on Project Cars 2 on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 platforms. We're at the Nurburgring GP circuit for this one, and I'm sure we're in for an absolute treat. We have got 14 drivers out on the track, 15 in the lobby. One of them is me. I'm not racing, I'm commentating, but some of the best GTE drivers on the PlayStation platform, and I'm really excited to see how this one goes. I reckon this is going to be an absolute thriller of a race. Some of the best, as we said, out on track. We've got Hijoli currently leading the way in this qualifying session. We didn't see any hints of a 152 in the practice just gone a few minutes ago, but Hijoli has absolutely stolen the show so far. Has put his numbered 92 Porsche on top spot for the time being, so very impressive stuff here from Hijoli. As we're 6 minutes into the session, he's just had to negotiate one of the BMWs there. I think that might be that's either Delore or Kurt, but up towards the line. Hijoli doesn't improve on his current personal best, but he's leading the way at the moment by half a second to this man here, Granasti. Oh, he's had a bit of a moment there coming through the chicane, the final chicane just before the final right-hander of the lap. Granasti gets it going once again, the winner in the feature race last week at Daytona Road Course. We'll be looking to try and build on that here with another good result here for the sprint race at Nurburgring. The Nuts has gone up into second place. It's leapfrog Grandad Steve up into that P2 provisionally alongside Hijoli on the front row. JM Grawl in fourth. We've got Beam Basher, one of the two championship contenders, himself and Richie, pretty close in the point standings actually. Richie comes into this one on 413 points. Beam Basher on 401, so 12 points separating these two coming into this round. It is oh so tight between those two, and they're both pretty much in the mid-pack right now. You've got Beam Basher sat 6th and Richie down in P12, so not where he wants to be. Beam Basher comes over the line, doesn't improve at the moment, stays in P6 for the time being. We're expecting it to be a real challenge tonight because the Nurburgring typically a bit of a hard tyre type of track, but with the track temperature being so low, being 15 degrees Celsius or 60 degrees Fahrenheit, this pretty much means that it's a no-brainer to go on the soft tyres. The hard tyres will simply not heat up at these temperatures. It just does not happen. There is, you know, you can try, you can persevere, you can really push, but it's simply not going to be able to happen. So ultimately it's about being able to look after those soft tyres and make them last the distance. We've just lost the driver here from the session. Hopefully whoever it was gets back in, but I did actually get a friend request from Kaiser69. I obviously can't accept it at the moment, but if anybody does want to invite Kaiser69 in, you can. I know he's a clean racer, he's welcome. It's CMC that's left. CMC would have been the one that would have got him in. Well, let's accept that and help them get back in. But yeah, apologies for the blue screen. You guys will just be experiencing at the moment on the stream. This should subside in a matter of moments. Just quickly having to accept a friend request and send an invite or two. There we go. That should be that done now. So now we're going to send the invite. Apologies for this, guys. Apologies for this little delay. Okay, boy, we now got 15 drivers in the lobby, so unfortunately for those guys, they're not going to be able to get in, but we've got 14 drivers out on the track right now, so Richie goes top of the leaderboard there, puts it on a 52.7. The championship leader has got a 12-point gap to Beam Basher in those standings, and he's looking pretty strong there in that Ferrari, that number 68 Ferrari. Richie will be looking to try and extend that gap in the points if he can. Last time out we saw Beam Basher managed to keep the gap to him. Those two matched each other in terms of their points tally last time out at Daytona Road Course, so they're very evenly matched around most tracks, and I'm sure we'll be seeing a similar type of battle tonight. But Richie's drawn first blood here and goes to the top of the leaderboard ahead of Hijoli, and we've just lost another driver here, so I don't know who that is, but we seem to be losing drivers left, right and centre here. Oh, it's Ricky. Ricky's been disqualified from the qualifying session, so Ricky will have to wait until the end of the session in order to be able to take part in the race. But he'll still be able to take part in the race, he just won't be able to do a lap, or he won't be able to count for his qualifying time. You see Ground Steel there leaving the pits about to embark on his final run of the session. But Richie's coming through the middle sector of the lap at the moment. You've got Hijoli coming through the Mercedes arena. There's the Mutts Nuts. He's just coming on the exit of the Mercedes arena. Wilfredo Flowers has just got up into third place there in the Ferrari. Beautiful up there from Wilfredo Flowers. In the background you can see a Ford just coming into turn 1. Oh, here's Stage GT and the Corvette coming up towards the line. What can Stage GT put on the board? Over the line he comes, and he stays in 9th place for the time being. You've got one of the BMWs there. That's Kurt in the foreground just coming into turn 1. Kurt and Delore, late entrants to this race tonight. Former racers in the touring cars here at Motive, also both raced in the Clios as well. Delore running the USA livery there. That was being sported by DJ Phil last time out at Daytona Road. Not as relevant this time out, but clearly Delore a bit of a fan of American culture by the looks of it. He's currently sat in the pits, but he's done a time good enough for P10 so far. So half a second separating the top 4, only 7/10 separating the top 6, so it's pretty close. Falgues has done a time good enough for P7. Completely missed that. He went under the radar with that one, but he's coming in towards the final few corners. He's missing his front left headlight, so he's got a bit of damage on that Porsche. Whatever he does here, it will obviously be with a slightly impeded car, but in towards the final corner he comes. He'd be well advised to pit after this lap and get that damage repaired and go for one proper flying run at the end. But over the line Falgues comes, and he stays in P7 there as CMC's jump back into the session. Good to see. And we obviously believe that Ricky is still sat in the lobby, but we'll have to wait until the end of the session to be able to take part in the race. So full grid here tonight at the Nurburgring GP track for round 9 of the GTEs here at Motive. Oh no, we have got a full grid here. So I believe that Ricky's jumped out and jumped back in again in order to be able to take part in qualifying. So a little bit cheeky, but nothing ruling against it. Wilfredo Flowers, just noticing on the timing screen there, has gone up into second place within 400ths of a second of Richie's provisional pole time. Once again, somebody leaving the session. Oh, it's Ricky because he can't race. It's not letting him qualify. And Ricky's just shot himself massively in the foot there, because now he won't be able to get into the race either. So yeah, I don't know, but right now Richie's still top of the leaderboard. Wilfredo Flowers has got himself pretty close here. Jody still sat in third, did that very early lap in the session. It looks like he's got a bit of damage on the right front of that Porsche, or is that might just be me tripping, I don't know, but I think he looks like he might have had a bit of a dent on the front of that car. So well, he'd probably be best off bringing that into the pits, but he's staying out. Richie has actually improved his lap time fractionally by like about 200ths of a second. The gap to Wilfredo Flowers was 400ths, it's now 700ths, so he improves his lap time by 34 thousandths of a second. Richie making the smallest little improvement there, but showing that he's got consistency here. That'll be an ominous sign for his championship rival Beam Basher, who's coming through in towards the middle sector, down the hill towards the hairpin at this very moment. Bit of a lock up there. But Beam Basher, we're looking to try and minimise the points gained by Richie, or indeed he'll be trying to get ahead of him really in this sprint race. I'm sure he'll be open to finish in front of him if he can. It's going to be a close race though, we know that for sure. It's got a minute and a half left in this session, so drivers will be able to obviously finish the lap that they're on once they get over that line. As long as they get over the line before that time hits 0, they'll be able to finish the lap that they're on. We're watching Beam Basher coming up through the valley section as Wilfredo Flowers has gone pole. Wilfredo Flowers goes to the top of the leaderboard there by 1/10 of a second, pushes Richie off the top spot. What's Beam Basher up to though, as he's coming out of the chicane up towards the final right-hander of the lap, as we see in the background there, Dolores or Kurt, one of the two, swerving out of the way of a Porsche, which either was IDJ or Falgues. But Beam Basher up towards the line, and he improves up to P7, gets himself within a second of the pole time. So although he's down in P7, it's a very close field. He is within a second of the pole time. So Beam Basher, if he can find a second here on this final lap, might be able to get himself in amongst it with Wilfredo Flowers and Richie. Here Jolie's pitted, he's not going to improve. Grandad Steve's also in the pits, so he won't get any better up the order than he is at the moment in P5. JM Grill is still out there, as is Richie, as is the Mutts Nuts, as is Beam Basher. Stage GT, Delore, RDJ, Kurt all out there. Well, Kurt's pitted, so he's done for the session. ALTEL jumped in the session pretty late on in this one. He'll start in P13 at best. CMC might get ahead of him in the closing stage of this qualifying session. We'll have to wait and see. CMC did get over the line. Oh, he's lost it for the turn one though, and that's pretty much put a nail in this qualifying session. CMC brings it into the pits, so just 5 drivers out there now. Richie on his final run of the session just got over the line in time. JM Gruhl coming through the Schumacher S has got half a lap left to go on his final run. Beam Basher is just coming out of the hairpin up towards the Schumacher S. You've got Falguest in the pits, he's done for the session. Delore is just about made it over the line, I think, to start another lap. He would have been by literally the most fractious of margins, did manage to get it around for another lap, but we'll see what he can do in about a couple of minutes time. Richie though coming through the middle sector. JM Gruhl coming up towards the chicane. What can JM Gruhl do? He looks like he's 1.9 seconds off of his personal best coming through the middle, so he's not going to improve. Beam Basher will be the next driver over the line here as he's coming up the hill towards the chicane. Gets a little wide entry there in towards the chicane, carrying as much speed as he can. He's a 10th up on his best coming through the middle sector there. Can he get himself up ahead of the Nuts, maybe up into P4? That's probably the most realistic of expectations, unless he lost a bit of time in the final sector on his previous lap, in which case he could be onto a winner here. Out of the last corner, Beam Basher comes and up towards the line. What is it going to be for him? He goes P4, so he did get at the Nuts there. Found 4/10 in that final sector, and Beam Basher gets himself on the second row here. What about Richie? Can he steal pole away from Wilfredo Flowers? Delore is, I don't know yet, he's still on the lap there. Delore is still going. So Richie could be the man to take pole position away. He's provisionally sat on the front row of the grid alongside Wilfredo Flowers. The split time didn't come up there, so we don't know what sort of lap he's on. But in towards the final corner, the championship leader comes into this with a 12-point gap to Beam Basher. Can he steal the march on him at the beginning of this sprint race and put himself on pole up towards the line? Comes Richie, and he does. He takes pole there by 0.2 of a second. What a lovely lap there from Richie, showing why he is the championship leader in this GTE division. What can Delore do as he comes up towards the line in the BMW? He can't improve. He stays in P10. So 15 drivers out on the track. Is Richie taking pole? A 52.3 in the end, his fastest lap of the session. Absolutely stonking stuff there from Richie ahead of Wilfredo Flowers. Hit Jody in third with Beam Basher fourth. Then the Nuts fifth, followed by Grandad Steed in sixth. JM Gruhl seventh, Falguest eighth. Stage GT in ninth with Delore 10th. Then we've got RDJ, Kurt and Airtel with CMC rounding out the field here for the sprint race. So here we are then, the drivers just lining up on the grid ready to go for an 8-lap sprint race. No mandatory pit stop, just a straight out sprint to the line. The feature race will be a little bit longer with a mandatory pit stop to add a bit of a strategy into it and keep the guys guessing out on track until they come in and get that pit stop done. But for this one, no such complications, just a simple race to the line, a quick one for the drivers to just whet their appetite a bit, get them into some action, and then the feature race will be, I'm sure, where the most of the drama happens. But Richie, championship leader, line up on pole position. His championship rival 3 places back on the second row, not too far away. Beam Basher can get a good start, he'll find himself on the back of his championship rival, we know that for sure. Got some action going on in the GTE chat. So apparently Ricky P disconnected from the session. Just commented there in the chat saying he disconnected. Lilo King says he can't find the lobby. I did send you an invite, mate. You didn't get in time by the looks of it. Pete Bibb says good luck, guys. Let us know who you're rooting for in this one, Pete Bibb. Any of your mates out there tonight, let us know. But Richie lining up on pole here, will be looking to get a good start and try and put as much of a gap between himself and Beam Basher as he can. But tensions rise here. Most of the lights are on as the sun is starting to set here in the Eiffel Mountains here in Germany. Nurburgring, obviously the host of the Formula 1 a few times, hosted the race last season. Actually, it was the track where Hamilton actually equaled Schumacher's record of wins. I think 91 wins it was. This is the track where Hamilton equaled that record. But here we go, lights are coming on now. Flash of the lights from the third row from Grandad Steers. It's lights out and away we go, and Richie gets away very well indeed. Beam Basher slightly bogged down, has already been passed down the outside by the Nuts. As Nuts is up into second place. What a start from that green Ford there, as Beam Basher's just tucking on the inside, keeping it cautious as he's got Falguest breaking a little bit late on his inside, but Richie leads us through turn 1. Cameron takes a day off there as the Nuts is looking to try and in fact the Nuts is trying to hold it on the inside here of Wilfredo Flowers. These two side by side through the Mercedes arena, and Wilfredo in the end thinks better of that one. The Nuts up into second place. Great start from the Nuts. Hijoli just giving Beam Basher a bit of a nudge there, but Beam Basher gets the move done and then up into 4th place, so Beambasher getting that position back pretty much straight away there. Hijoli in 5th, followed by Grandad Steve. Falgas there in 7th place, JM Grill in 8th. Then you've got Kurt Delore, RDJ down in 11th place with ARTEL looking on the back of him. In fact, ARTEL's been passed down the inside by CMC, but ARTEL holds it around the outside, all a bit wide there onto the grass. ARTEL there loses out. CMC up into 12th place. Stage GT rounding out the field at the moment, but coming down the hill towards the hairpin for the first time. Richie's got a bit of a gap here, 1.4 seconds he's got over the Mutts Nuts at the moment. Wilfredo Flowers, Beambasher trying to hassle the back of him if he can. Oh, Hijoli's lost it in the background there. Hijoli's off onto the grass on the inside of the hairpin. What a shame there after such a strong qualifying session. He's down to the back of the pack. That could not have gone much worse there for Hijoli. At least he's not got any damage on the car, as we can now see Wilfredo Flowers trying to defend from Beambasher. Beambasher trying to go around the outside here. These two have a bit of history from last week at Daytona. Beambasher though keeping it on that curve and keeping it pinned. Oh, Wilfredo leaving a space on the inside as Beambasher just forces his way through there. Nice move there. Hard but fair from Beambasher up into 3rd place, and fair play to Wilfredo for giving him space on the inside. Good driving there from those two. Richie leads up the hill coming into the chicane. The Mutts Nuts in 2nd, Beambasher 3rd, then Wilfredo Flowers, Grandad Steve, Falguest in 6th, JM Gruel in the background there. Oh no, somebody's gone straight on. Falguest straight on over the chicane, taking the endurance route there through the chicane, and he's lost out a bit of time there, had to back off to avoid getting a penalty. He's now got JM Gruel very hot in his mirrors here coming out of the final corner. Richie though leads by 1.2 seconds at the moment, down the start finish straight. They're all trying to get into the toe of each other. They're all trying to break the toe from the car behind, but Richie leads ahead of the Mutts Nuts. Beambasher there crucially getting himself into 3rd place. And we've lost a driver in the very early stages of this race. Who have we lost? I believe Stage GT's retired from the race in the very early stages, so maybe he had a bit of damage on that car, I don't know. Didn't really get to see a whole lot of him in that first lap, but Stage GT out in the very early stages. Hijoli's got himself back up into P10 ahead of Delore after dropping down to the back. He's already made up 3 places. Hijoli a good recovery so far. Richie though still leading the race ahead of the Mutts Nuts. Mutts Nuts has got Beambasher very, very close on him now. These two good friends. I wonder whether the Mutts Nuts won't make it too difficult for Beambasher. These two obviously do have a bit of a rivalry though as well, so I can't imagine that the Mutts Nuts will give him too much of an easy time. But at the moment RDJ's starting to close up a little bit onto the back of the lead runners ever so slightly. RDJ, we've heard in the build up to this race, is running a very interesting rig setup. He's got his rig set up on a, I think it's the chest of drawers or something, and he's racing whilst sat on his bed, so it's a bit of an uncomfortable setup by the sounds of it, but RDJ's making it work there, currently running in 8th place, trying to close up onto the leaders. He's made a good start to the race from near enough the back of the pack. Richie though leading by 1.5 seconds ahead of the Mutts Nuts at the moment. Beambasher there in 3rd place, 2 seconds off for the lead. These three have broken away a little bit from Wilfredo Flowers and Grandad Steve, and Wilfredo's kind of just keeping Grandad Steve, Falguest and JM Grill at bay. In fact, JM Grill's dropped off a little bit off of those three, but Wilfredo for Grandad Steve and Falguest. Oh, as we see Falguest there all over the place on the exit of the of that corner which leads out onto the valley section. Falguest not having the race so far. Very unlike Falguest to see him making as many mistakes he's making so far in this race. Obviously he's the championship leader in the touring cars on a Friday night. That's his big championship. That's the one that he's really focused on this season. That's the one he wants to win. But tonight so far here in his GTEs, he's not looked like the Falguest that we're used to. But in the meantime, we've got Richie leading, and now the Mutts Nuts, he has got Beambasher looking to his inside in towards turn 1. Beambasher's going to commit down the inside here, and he gets that done beautifully there on the brakes, but the Mutts Nuts trying to get the cut back, can't do it. Rides over the grass a little bit. Beambasher is up into 2nd place, so Beambasher now can try and chase down his championship rival, who as it stands will be gaining points on him, but we know that Beambasher's well up to the task of chasing him down and taking this fight to him in this sprint race. Lap 3 of 8 here, so still the relatively early stages, not even only just over a quarter of the way into the race. Mutts Nuts down to 3rd place behind Beambasher. Wilfredo in the background there, not too far for the podium spots. You've got Grandad Steve, Falguest still keeping to the back of Grandad Steve, not completely dropping off of him so far. JM Grill there in the background. RDJ starting to reel JM Grill in a little bit now, very much on the horizon there. Hijoli after his first lap skirmish is up into 9th. He was in 14th at the end of the first lap, so good progress since then from Hijoli. Airtel is in the pits, so he's got damage on the front of that car, and he's getting that repaired now, so Airtel will be in the pits for a little while there. Delore there in 10th place, CMC 11th, and Kurt will move up into, oh no he won't, because he's a lap down. So Kurt will stay in P13 behind Airtel, unless Airtel has a complete and utter nightmare of a pit stop. But Richie's still leading the race at the moment, but Beam Basher's starting to reel him in a little bit since getting ahead of the Mutts Nuts. Beam Basher's closed that gap to the race leader, but how much longer is he going to be able to keep up this pace? Can he get onto the back of his championship rival? That's the big question here. The Mutts Nuts starting to drop off for Beam Basher a little bit. Got ever so wide there coming through that section of the track. It's a flat out down the hill right-hander, but if you get a little bit offline, if you take it, if you mess up the positioning of the car even slightly, it can really compromise you coming through there. And I think Mutts Nuts maybe just a slight lapse of concentration as he came through that part of the track, and he's got still got a bit of a gap back to Wilfredo. Wilfredo's got Grandad Steve within half a second of him. Falguest has dropped off at the back of Wilfredo and Grandad Steve over the last lap or so. He's starting to fall off at the pace a little bit of these lead runners. JM Good in the background there in 7th. Got RDJ not too far behind, but JM Good's responded a little bit to RDJ's pace on that lap. He was 0.3 faster. Fastest man on that previous lap was Richie, but only just. He was 100th of a second quicker than Beam Basher, so these two very evenly matched, and Beam Basher's really closed in at the beginning of this lap. As we see the Mutts Nuts, what's happened to the Mutts? Oh no, he's lost it. The Mutts Nuts has lost it coming through the Mercedes arena, gets it back on the track, waits for the opening to present itself, and slots in behind RDJ. What a shame for the Mutts Nuts. He's not too far off for the lead though. He's only 12 seconds off for the lead, so it's not all doom and gloom for the Mutts Nuts. He can still get some good points here. I reckon he's in contention for a top 5 maybe if he keeps his nose clean for the rest of this race, but not what he would have needed at all there. He gets it back going again. Grandad Steve's on the back of Wilfredo Flowers here, coming down the hill and towards the hairpin, trying to pressure him for that final podium spot. Richie's managed to put a bit of a gap to Beam Basher coming through that middle sector there, so Beam Basher's dropped off a little bit after it looked like he was closing in at the beginning of the lap. Now Richie's got a bit of breathing space here. So Richie, as it stands in this race, would extend his championship gap to 18 points over Beam Basher if the race were to stay exactly as it is now, but don't count on that because the gap's only 3.5 seconds and that could yo-yo pretty much any moment. Richie not immune to mistakes. He doesn't make many mistakes, but he is known to make a few, so who knows what might happen in the second part of this race. But coming towards the end of lap 4, it's Richie by 3.5 seconds to Beam Basher. Wilfredo Flowers not too far off the back of Beam Basher, only about a second between those two. Grandad Steve's fallen off the back of Wilfredo over the course of this lap a little bit. Falguest has started to reel Grandad Steve in a little bit over this lap, I think. We'll see once they finish the lap. We'll see what the lap times are, but I think Falguest has started to reel them in a little bit. JM Gruhl in P6 has got RDJ now falling off the back of him. JM Gruhl's very much responded to that pace of RDJ, and he's starting to reel in Falguest now. So Falguest and JM Gruhl starting to reel in the leaders ever so slightly. End of lap 4, the fastest man that time around was Wilfredo Flowers. So Wilfredo really on one. I think Falguest might have picked up a penalty on that lap because he definitely didn't do a 1:57. He was a lot quicker than that. I think he might have picked up a 3-second penalty there. But Hijodi is running just ahead of Delore here. These two coming into turn 1, and look at this. Delore is all over him. Coming out of turn 1 into turn 2. These two very close to one another as Wilfredo's putting the pressure on Beam Basher, but Beam Basher and Wilfredo both taking a bit of time out of Richie coming through that first sector there. I wonder if Richie made a mistake or had a bit of a slip. Whatever the case, Beam Basher and Wilfredo starting to close that gap down ever so slightly. Grandad Steve has still got Falguest very much on his rear view mirrors there. JM Gruhl's dropped a little bit off of Falguest over the course of the first sector so far on this lap. RDJ started to reel in JM Gruhl, so JM Gruhl maybe a bit of a mistake, possibly just hasn't got the pace in that first sector there. RDJ taking a very wide line coming through that hairpin, but it's working for him. And it looks like we lost the driver here from the race. Who have we lost? We've lost the Mutts Nuts. The Mutts Nuts is out of the race here on lap 5. Hopefully he'll join us for the feature race. Be good to see him up there in the feature race. Not the race for him. Obviously had that spin coming through the Mercedes arena, dropped him down the field. So but we know he's got the pace, so I'm sure he'll be up there in the feature. But Richie leading by 2 seconds at the moment ahead of Beam Basher as they come up the hill towards the chicane. Beam Basher just keeping the gap around the same. He's reeling him in at certain points, and then Richie's got the pace at other parts of the track. But Beam Basher on the whole is closing that gap, and oh, Wilfredo has lost it coming out of the chicane there. Wilfredo's lost out to Grandad Steve and Falguest. What a shame there for Wilfredo Flowers as he was in that battle with Beam Basher. That's taken the pressure off of Beam Basher a little bit as Falguest ever so wide coming through the final right-hander of the lap. He let the slipstream off of Grandad Steve, which will help him defend from Wilfredo as Wilfredo's really close on the back of him coming over the line to complete that 5 of the race. Beam Basher's got the gap down though to 1.5 seconds here to Richie, so the gap is coming down at the front. Beam Basher really getting the best out of that number 8 yellow Ford at this point. Grandad Steve is just ahead of Wilfredo. Wilfredo there has managed to get back ahead of Falguest coming into turn 1. So Falguest losing out down to P5. Has got about a second and a half back to JM Gruhl. RDJ continuing to take time out of JM Gruhl. The last time round RDJ was over a second quicker than Django. Oh no, Falguest has pinned it going through the arena there. So look at that, he's lost out to RDJ down to P7. Falguest there having a big moment, ever so wide coming through the next corner as well. He would get a slowdown penalty for that, I'm sure. Wilfredo is looking around the outside of Granad Steed. Granad Steed just holding on the inside and runs him out of road there, runs him onto the curb. Wilfredo might not be too happy with that. That's hard racing, I think, between those two. Granad Steed just about clinging on for that P3. Great little battle between those two. JM Gruel waiting in the wings, but that's dropped him well off the battle there of Beanbasher. I mean, they were pretty much out of the battle for that second anyway, but that's pretty much just knocked him completely out of that picture. Beanbasher, though, still keeping the gap at around 2 seconds to Richie, but Richie seems to have responded a little bit over the course of this lap. Previous lap, Beanbasher was 2 seconds quicker. This time around, Richie has started to pull out a bit more here to Beanbasher. JM Gruel really close on the back of Grandesty and Wilfredo at the moment. RDJ's got ahead of Falguest up into 6th place, and RDJ is he's only about 3 or 4 seconds off of a podium here, is RDJ, so don't rule out RDJ finishing in the top 3 here. I reckon that could be a possibility in this race if he keeps doing what he's doing right now, keeps up this sort of pace. Who knows what might happen, but Richie here leads by just under 2 seconds to Beanbasher as they're coming over the line to start the penultimate lap of the race. Closing stages here of this race. Beanbasher continuing to take time out of Richie, but having said that, actually on the last lap Richie was 3/10 quicker, so Richie now starting to see that that Ford is really looming large and starting to get a little bit bigger in his rearview mirrors, and Richie's very much responded to that pace here on that previous lap, but as a whole Beanbasher is still closing in on him as we see this race coming towards its close. Grandad Steve still running in the final podium spot, has got a little bit back to Wilfredo as Wilfredo's looking to the inside in towards the second part of the Mercedes arena. Bit of a lock up there from Grandad Steve. Oh, tapping the rear there from Wilfredo. They get through unscathed. JM Gruel is going to be watching this and hoping and praying that they trip over each other, because that will mean that he can just drive by and pick up the pieces. RDJ getting bigger and bigger behind them there. Look at him in P6. It'd be amazing to see RDJ if he can get a podium tonight in these GTs. It'd be great to see. Been a long time since we've seen him up the sharp end fighting here at Motive, but in the meantime let's go back to the leaders, because Richie's still got about a 2.3 second gap to Beanbasher. These two pretty much matching each other's every lap time over the last couple of laps. Beanbasher has tried everything he can to get on Richie, but Richie stole the march really in the beginning of the race. Just managed to get a bit of a gap to Beanbasher as he was trying to fight it out. Beanbasher dropped to P5 in the opening couple of corners and then managed to fight his way back up into second place, but the gap was already there and it's kind of just stayed at around 2 seconds since Beanbasher got himself into P2. Richie though still out the front, still doing what he has to do at this point. Richie would extend the gap to 18 points in the championship, which isn't too much in the grand scheme of things, but Beanbasher would dearly love to turn those tables and get himself a little bit of inroads here in this title battle. These two coming over the line to start their final lap of the race. Beanbasher's got plenty of fuel. I think Richie should have enough there. He's got 5 litres in the tank. I think that will be more than enough to get him to the line, but these two are going to fight it out for the final lap. Richie was 3/10 quicker than Beanbasher, so the last couple of laps Richie has been ever so slightly quicker than Beanbasher. Wilfredo's got a big gap now back to JM Gruel, so I don't know what's happened to Grandad Steed there, but Grandad Steed's down in P6. He's lost out to Wilfredo, JM Gruel and RDJ. RDJ is on the back of JM Gruel, but he has got a penalty, as has Falguest. Wilfredo, JM Gruel and Grandad Steed all without penalties, so as it stands, Grandad Steed would get the position back on RDJ once we get to the finish. Back to the leaders here. Richie's coming through the split between the Sector 1 and Sector 2. Or what's happened? Don't know what happened there. We just heard an exclamation through the game chat there, as it looks as though Grandad Steed's dropped behind Falguest. I don't know what happened to Grandad Steed there. He's down in P7 in this race. Oh, it's going from bad to worse here for Grandad Steed on this final lap of the race. Richie though has 2.3 back to Beanbasher as they're coming into the Schumacher S for the final time here in this sprint race. Richie looks like it's going to be another win here in this GTE series. He's been absolutely superb throughout the course of this season. Round 9 of the season here, sprint race. After this we'll still have 7 races left to go, so still plenty of time for Beanbasher to close that gap, but he's not going to do it here in this sprint race. He'll have to feature after this to try and claw some points back, but Richie up the hill towards the chicane managed to get pole position by 0.2 of a second right at the death of the qualifying session. That set him up beautifully there to really take this race by the scruff of the neck. Beanbasher fought his way from 4th on the grid, lost the position down to 5th at the start, then got himself into 2nd place. But it's going to be Richie out in the final corner who comes up towards the line. A flash of lights from the Ferrari, and it's a victory for the championship leader. His championship rival Beanbasher comes over in 2nd place and minimises the points gained by Richie at the top of the standings. Still pretty close between these two in the championship standings, but Richie ahead of Beanbasher for the win. Wilfredo Flowers completes the podium. A great drive there from him in the Ferrari. RDJ is going to come round to take a 4th place here in this one, but JM Grill gets him due to the penalties. So JM Grill 4th, RDJ 5th. Falguest up towards the line. It's going to be a P6 here for Falguest. Out of sorts tonight. Very unlike Falguest to see him making as many mistakes as he was. Granasty takes 6th ahead of Falguest in 7th. CMC's coming out of the final corner, and it's going to be an 8th place finish here for CMC. Well clear of Delore in 9th, so CMC, good points there for him in the BMW. Delore coming out of the final corner, and it's going to be a 9th place finish here. Also in a BMW, great to see the BMWs being represented here tonight. Over the line comes Delore to finish in 9th place. Hijoli out of the last corner. He's got big damage on the front left bonnet of that car. Over the line in 10th place comes Hijoli. Ailtel's coming in towards the final corner, and he'll be finishing in 11th place for this one. Not what he'd have wanted, but jumping in is a very late stand in for tonight. Yeah, I'm sure he'll improve in the feature race. Ailtel 11th. And Kurt is going to be the last driver to finish. Here he comes in towards the chicane in the number 88 yellow BMW. Kurt jumping in again as a late stand-in for tonight, so a few late stand-ins really rising to the occasion here. But Kurt out of the last corner takes P12 here in this one. And that is that for the sprint race, ladies and gentlemen. Richie taking the win ahead of Beanbasher. Wilfredo Flowers completing the podium. Good battle there. Richie and Beanbasher very evenly matched, but Richie taking the win. Fastest laps pretty close. Richie does get the bonus point, so the gap will be 19 points in the championship going into the feature race. Stay tuned, guys. Oh, well, obviously most of you watching this will be the drivers after, so guys, hope you fully enjoyed watching that back, and stay tuned for the feature. It's going to be a good one.
A lot of complaints about Wilfredo Flowers, Andy.
Really?
Yeah.
They took me out, took Fal out, just fucking dive bombing us all the time.
You got save the clip, boys. Save the clip.
Into the hairpin, and he just fucking right up and just there was no way I could fucking keep on turning. I just got knocked straight off.
Oh, mate, save the clip and send it over to us. I'll have a look at it. I'll see.
We've done it numerous times, so we need to keep an eye on him. But with Wilfredo Flowers, mate, drive a bit, mate. Don't dive bomb if you can't get past him. Quick.
I just be careful around him. If you know that he's a bit dodgy, just, you know, obviously, like, just.
We shouldn't have to, Phil, because it just spoils our races. When he was behind, I was expecting someone to come dive on the inside, and it's fucking so cold out there. You get no grip whatsoever. I do.
Fal out, took me out.
All right, Rob.
Not too bad. Up the temperature a little bit. It's a bit cold.
It's supposed to be the real. It's supposed to be a real world date.
Oh, see. Well, climate change. You know what I mean?
Use the softs, mate. Use the softs.
No, not on a Porsche. It's after 3 laps, not even 3 laps. It's 9 time. I put my fucking steering wheel back on. Nothing's attached. It's just, yeah, on a TV stand at the minute.
You're looking quick.
Mate, if you see the way this rig is my pedals, I'm using my PC to stop my pedals moving forward.
Mate, I heard it. Smithy told me all about it. He was saying that you basically sat on the end of your bed and that you've got your wheel hooked up to like a chest of drawers or something.
Yeah, to TV, yeah. A table. Basically. You know what I mean? Metal legs, like, everywhere.
Mate, I used to have it.
TV shaking.
I used to have mine hooked up to like a wooden table on the same setup as my TV. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare when you've got the TV on the same stand as your wheel.
Oh yeah, it fucking shakes the TV about, innit? But yeah, global warming.
Try the soft, mate. Honestly, they won't wear out. They won't wear out quickly. Trust me, they won't. It's too cold. It's too cold. Just do the soft.
Give it a go.
They'll be all right.
I'll give it a go.
They'll be all right. Soft won't wear out at these temperatures. It's not even anywhere near enough for them to wear out.
Save Andy. And who's that dickhead who's hitting Steve? I
Rob, you're about 20 minutes late.
Where is it? Shag it.
Right.
Yeah.
Best of luck, boys.
Good luck.
Have a good one, guys.
So, mandatory pit stop.
Mandatory pit stop, but there's no pit window though. So come in any time.
Sorry about the first lap earlier.
Right, time to pop to the loop. Welcome back, everybody. We're here for the second qualifying session of the evening. We had an excellent sprint race. It was pretty much filled with drama from start to finish. We saw Richie run away with it out the front. Well, not run away with it. Beam actually kept him honest, but Richie managed to just get the jump at the start, managed to get a bit of a gap, and by the time Beam Basher got his way up into second place, Richie was kind of gone a couple of seconds up the road. But we'll have to see how this second qualifying session goes. It could be crucial to Beam Basher maybe turning the tables on Richie and clawing back a few points in the championship battle. Track temperature very cold tonight, 15 degrees Celsius, 61 degrees Fahrenheit, and because of that it's playing havoc with getting the hard tyres up to temperature. So some of the drivers I think are going to be switching over to the softs to try and get a bit more temps in them. Ultimately the tyre wear will be a little bit quicker, but hopefully there'll be a bit more grip in the soft tyres, and the wear shouldn't be too bad either, because with the track temperature being as low as it is, it shouldn't really be overheating too much. So I think that the tyre wear shouldn't be too much of an issue here. So gap in the championship between Richie and Beam Basher, 19 points. After that sprint race, Richie taking the win, Beam Basher second. Richie led the championship by 13 points coming into this already. So Beam Basher with work to do here in this feature race, but we know he's up to the challenge. James Gould there does a brilliant lap, does a 52.8, goes to the top of the leaderboard. Look at that, 3/10 clear of Richie. Didn't see that in the first qualifying or indeed the first race, but JM Gould really on it in the early stages of this second quali session. Looks like we've got full grid now. We've got 16 drivers in the lobby, as we just see Stage GT jumping back in there. Obviously the scheduled start time was 8:15, and there are a few drivers who signed up who unfortunately weren't here at the start time for the lobby, so a couple of guys did miss out on the race. Lello King, DJ Phil unfortunately weren't able to participate as they jumped in a little bit after the start time, but hopefully we'll be able to get those guys next time out. Obviously next week we'll be racing at Spa-Francorchamps for round 10 before heading to Sugo, Sportston Sugo in Japan for the penultimate round of the season, and then we'll round things off at Zhuhai in China for the final round of the season. But here right now in the Eiffel Mountains in Germany, it's JM Gould setting the pace, Richie in second, the winner of the sprint race. Beam Basher, his championship rival, followed him home in second. He's about to cross the line just behind him here. And Richie goes top of the leaderboard there with a 52.7. What does Beam Basher do? Beam Basher stays in P4 for the time being on a 53.4, but Richie once again setting the pace. And Beam Basher will have learnt from the first race that you cannot give Richie an inch, because he will absolutely take it and he will run with it. So Beam Basher knows he's got to at least be alongside Richie at the start of this race. He'll want to be getting on the front row as a minimum. But Beam Basher more than capable of taking pole here. One of the quickest drivers in the GTEs on project cars. Little known fact, Beam Basher is a former champion of the GTEs here at Motive, but that was under a different alias. That was before he became Beam Basher. Jolie in the pits on his way out for another run at the session. He was obviously up there at the sharp end in the sprint race qualifying session. We're looking to follow that up with another strong performance here. Oh, it's Grandesteeg's lost it. Yellow flag coming through the middle sector. Grandesteeg retires to the pits. It's going to be hard pushed as to whether he gets out for another lap here at the end of this session. He might just sit in that box and wait for the session to end now, because I think he might be cutting it very fine. No, he's going to go for it. Grandesteeg is going to try and get one more lap in here at the end of this session. He'd be really hard pushed to get that round in time, but he's going to try it. He might just get round in time here. It's about 2 minutes from the moment you exit the pits, so if Grandesteeg keeps it pinned the whole way, he might just be able to get round in time to get one more flying lap in here at the end of this session. Oh, JM Gould's lost it there. He's got a bit sideways on the grass. Provisionally sat on the front row alongside Richie. JM Gould really setting a strong pace here. Richie coming up towards the line, the provisional pole sitter. What can he do as he crosses over the line now? A 52.4 there from Richie. Oh my goodness me. That is scorching there from Richie as Beam Basher crosses the line. Doesn't improve on his current personal best there of P4, 53.4. Richie only a 10th off of his fastest time in the first qualifying session. Looking set to take another pole position here. Beam Basher is on his final run of the session. No, Beam Basher's in the pits, so Beam Bashers are going to start P4 at best here. JM Gould's pitting, so he's done. He's not going to improve on P2. Grandesteeg we saw leaving the pits just in time, so he should be able to get a lap in. He'll be just about able to cross the line in time to get one more in. Wilfredo Flowers is in 5th place in this qualifying session right now. Hijoli in 6th as he's about to start his final run of the session. Richie and Ricky in the pits, so is RDJ. The Mutsnuts is a couple of seconds off of the pace in P9. He's currently coming through the Schumacher S. This will be his final run of the session, I think. I don't think he's going to get round in time to do another one after this. Kurt in the foreground there, just up ahead of him. Delore in P10 in this session. He's just coming through the hairpin now. He's on his final run of the session here. CMC is coming through the first sector checkpoint now. He's in 11th in this session. He'll be on his final run right now. Ayatel's coming out at the hairpin. He's also on his final run of the session, looking to try and get himself up from P13 on the grid as it stands. Stage GT, oh, big slide there as he comes through the arena, and he's done for the session. Falguest is in P15. Continuing on from not the best of sessions in the sprint race. Falguest really seems to be struggling tonight, and it's very unusual to see Falguest in the GTEs in a car class that he does excel in, down in P15. The Mutsnuts comes over and takes P3 on his final run of the session, so kept his cool and managed to get himself ahead of Granadstee on the second row. Granadstee did, I think, just get round in time to start another lap here, so Granadstee is on his final run of the session. Wilfredo Flowers is coming into the final corner. He will be about to finish his final lap. Here he comes out onto the start-finish straight now. What is Wilfredo Flowers going to be able to put on the board as he crosses over the line? He goes into P2 there, puts himself on the front row, pushes a lot of drivers down a position there. If we see a Porsche coming over the line in the background, I think that was Airtel. Yes, it was. Airtel stays in at 13th place, doesn't push himself up the order anymore. Steve's on his final run of the session. He's just coming out of the hairpin now. Where's Hijoli? Hijoli's got a couple of corners left to go. He's 1.4 off the pace, but we saw him do a 152 in the first qualifying session. Can he repeat that here in the second one? In towards the final corner, gets a good entry speed, manages to keep the cornering speed as he gets himself out onto the start-finish straight now. Hijoli up towards the line. What is it going to be for him? He goes into P2. He pushes Wilfredo Flowers off the front row of the grid. Lovely lap there from Hijoli. Does his fastest lap of the session so far. Does his fastest lap of the night. Excellent stuff there from Hijoli. Granadstee's got a few corners left to go. He's currently 6th in this session. Delore and Kurt are still out there. I think they're done. I think they've crossed the line and are now finished for the session. Granadstee will be the last man over the line as he's coming in towards the final corner. He's got 9/10 to find to get it on pole. Can he get himself out of the Mutsnuts? Maybe even get himself on the front 2 rows. Up towards the line comes Granadstee, one of the championship contenders in the touring cars. He comes over the line and puts it on the front row. So Granadstee goes up into P2 there, pushes Hijoli down. Wilfredo Flowers the line up in 4th with JM Gruhl behind them and the Mutsnuts. Beambasher down in P7. So he's got work to do in this feature race. Richie, the championship leader, taking pole once again. Beambasher's got work to do. Ricky behind Beambasher, RDJ and Delore completing the top 10. Then we're going to have Kurt in 11th with CMC 12, ALTEL 13th, Stage GT in P14, and Falguest rounding out the field. And that's that then for the feature race qualifying. So this will be a mandatory pit stop, 14 laps. Mandatory pit window isn't a thing, so you can come in at any time. There's no limit. These drivers can come in on the first lap, they can come in on the last lap. It's entirely up to them as to when they come in and get that done and out of the way. But Richie put himself in the prime position there, taking his second pole of the night, and he'll be looking to try and take his second win of the night, I'm sure, as well, and continue to extend that gap to Beambasher in the points. Beambasher was very quick in the race, in the sprint race, but his qualifying pace hasn't been on the same level as what we've seen from his race pace. Can he replicate that race pace from the sprint and get himself up the order quickly? He'll be hoping that Granadstee and Hijoli and Wilfredo can give Richie a bit of a headache in the first couple of laps of this race. If they can, then he might be able to get himself in amongst it with Richie. But 15 cars lining up on the grid here for the start of the feature race, round 9 of Motive Racing's GTE League here on Project Cars 2 on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 platform. If you like what you see, drop a like on the video, guys. If you're watching this live, a big thank you to you, but most of you will be the drivers watching it afterwards. If you were in this race, if you're part of the GTEs, then make sure you drop a like, guys, as well. Share this with your friends and family, show them what you're getting up to on a Sunday night here on the Motive Racing YouTube channel. The drivers just making their final preparations here for the start of the feature race. They need plenty of fuel in the tank, maybe adjusting their pit strategy so they can do the cheap pit stop when they come in. Can Richie hold on to pole? Granadstee will be looking to try and shoot off the line. He's got his friend Beambasher, championship contender to Richie, down in P7, so Granadstee will be looking to really take the fight to Richie here. Hijoli, really strong performance from him so far tonight. Very impressed with his pace. Wilfredo Flowers on the second row alongside Hijoli. Lights are coming on. And it's lights out and away we go, and it's a good start from Hijoli. Look at that from the second row, absolutely shot off the line there like a rocket ship, as he's now looking to try and challenge Richie up towards turn 1. Richie's got the lead just about, but Hijoli's going to go late on the brakes on the inside. Richie though holds it around the outside there and manages to keep on to the lead just about. Hijoli really challenging him though, and we've got a BMW there looking a bit stranded there on the inside as Falguest has picked off 5 drivers in the first corner there. Falguest up into 10th place. What a start from him as Beambasher Basher still holding P7 at the moment, but Richie leads ahead of Hijoli. Grandad Stee in third with the Mustnuts fourth, and we see there the Mustnuts trying to challenge Grandad Stee for that third place very early on here in this race. But Richie out the front has got Hijoli absolutely hassling the back of him coming down towards turn 5. In the end, Hijoli thinks better of sending one down the inside, but at the moment Richie just clinging onto that lead. Great first couple of corners there from Hijoli, absolutely fired off the line really impressively in that Porsche. Grandad Stee just behind the Mustnuts, Wilfredo Flowers, JM Gould, Beam Basher on the end at the just on the tails of these guys. He's got RDJ very close on him there. As RDJ late on the brakes. Oh no, RDJ goes late on the brakes into the hairpin and tags Beam Basher, sends him wide there onto the gravel coming through the hairpin. What a disaster there for Beam Basher. He's down to 10th place here on the opening lap of this race as RDJ just gave him a little bit of a nudge coming into the corner. Oh, that could be crucial. Early stages yet, still plenty of time left in this race, and he's still got the pit stops to come. But that would be the last thing that Beam Basher has needed, is he's already got back ahead of Airtel up into 9th place. Richie though has got a big gap out the front, almost 2 seconds he's got over the Mustnuts at the moment. So Richie is going to be seeing that Beam Basher's dropped down to 9th on this first lap, and he's going to be pretty much content with the way that things have gone here at the start of this feature race. The Mustnuts has got himself ahead of Grandad Stee up into 2nd, and Grandad Stee's lost out to JM Grill and Wilfredo Flowers. So Grandad Stee down to 5th, JM Grill up onto the podium spots early on here as Grandad Stee's looking down the inside of Wilfredo in towards the final turn, and he manages to get that done brilliantly there. Does Grandad Stee, and Wilfredo sees him coming. Is Wilfredo going to get the cut back down the start finish straight? I'm sure that Grandad Stee's going to try and defend that coming down towards turn 1. Is in the background of that you can also see Airtel has got Kurt down his inside. Kurt's going to get that move done up into 8th place by the looks of it. Beam Basher is up into 7th since that little skirmish with RDJ early on, but Kurt down the inside of Airtel up into 8th place. Nicely done there from Kurt on the brakes. Airtel is going to try and get the cut back if he can coming up the Mercedes Arena. They're side by side still, and look at this, Airtel's making a fight at this one, managing to use the track absolutely to his advantage there around the outside. But in the end, Kurt does complete that move up into 8th place, had the inside for the second part of the Mercedes Arena, and completes his move up into 8th place there. Beautifully done from Kurt. Richie leads ahead of the Mustnuts. He's got a 3-second gap out the front as Richie, so he'll be pretty chuffed with the way that the start of this race has gone. The Mustnuts has got Wilfredo a couple of seconds behind him. Wilfredo's got heavy pressure from Grandad Stee, but Wilfredo did get back ahead of Grandad Stee down the start finish up into the final podium spot. JM Groin's 5th. Delore having a good race so far in this feature race, running just ahead of Beam Basher, and Beam Basher, to his credit, has got himself on this lead pack very quickly since that little incident with RDJ on the first lap. He's only 6 seconds off in the lead at the moment, is Beam Basher, and definitely not out of this feature race yet. He's very close on Delore here as he'll look to try and get the run out of the Schumacher. Oh, big slide there from Beam Basher, gets away with it as he got onto the gravel a little bit there, but he's going to try and really pile this pressure on Delore here and get himself ahead of this pack as soon as he can. I'm surprised he didn't pull the trigger and come into the pits at the end of the first lap, really. With that contact with RDJ, it would have been a prime position to just get his thoughts back together again, but he's sticking with it for the time being. He's on the back of Delore as we see Richie coming through the chicane at the top of the hill in the lead of the race. He's got 4 seconds to the Mustnuts. Wilfredo Flowers, Grandad Stee, JM Gould, Delore and Beam Basher in hot pursuit here. 6 cars battling it out over second place. You've got Kurt, Airtel, CMC there coming through the chicane. RDJ on the back of them, Richie there, Falguest just behind Richie there in 13th place. Stage GT and Hijoli running at the back, and not the start that he would have needed after a promising getaway. Was in second place after the first few corners, now down in P15. Who is? Who's causing problems? Don't know who's causing problems there. Beam Basher just got on the radio to me saying that there's somebody out there causing mayhem, but we're not quite sure who at the moment. But Wilfredo Flowers has got Grandad Stee pretty close behind him right now. He's currently in a sandwich in between the Mustnuts and Grandad Stee. The 2 forwards who he tackled in the first race. Oh no, Grandad Stee's lost it. Grandad Stee's in the wall, coming on the exit of turn 5. He's going to have a little bit of damage on the front of that Ford there. He's going to lose out to JM Gould, Delore, and Kurt as well up into 6th. Oh my goodness me. Oh no, Grandad Stee loses it again. And he's going to lose out now to RDJ, Richie and Falguest. And Stage GT not too far behind Stee as well, as Falguest is hassling the back of Richie for P10. No, it's not Richie, sorry, Ricky even. Ricky, I do apologise, I keep getting those two mixed up. It's not Richie. Richie's in the lead, for goodness sake. Ricky just holding Falguest away, but Falguest now down the inside into the hairpin. Does he complete that move there? The number 91 Porsche gets the move done beautifully there on the brakes up into 10th place. And Ricky, to be fair, saw him coming and did well there. RDJ's on the back of CMC in this battle for 8th, and these two not too far off of ALTEL either. The Mutts Nuts is keeping Wilfredo at bay, and JM Gruhl a couple of seconds off of the back of these two. So the Mutts Nuts and Wilfredo continuing their rivalry that we've seen them have for a little while now. We've heard Grandad Steve and Bean Basher both getting on the radio saying that there's a few questionable pieces of driving out there, but so far it looks as though it's pretty clean between these two, the Mutts Nuts and Wilfredo. JM Gruhl in the background there with Delore just on the back of him. Kurt there in 6th. There's got Ayatel not too far off between, not too much of a gap between those two at the moment. Ayatel's kept onto the back of Kurt since Kurt made the move on him a couple of laps ago. CMC in 8th. There's RDJ. Falgas completing the top 10. Ricky there on the back of Falgas has kept onto the back of him since Falgas made the move on him into the hairpin on this very lap. Granasty's in the pits at the end of lap 3, unsurprising there, and becomes the 3rd driver to pit after Bean Basher and Hijoli. So we'll see exactly where, well, Bean Basher's going to come out miles ahead of Grandad Steve here, as Grandad Steve's had a nightmare of a lap and is now a long way off of the leaders here in terms of a net position. But Richie still leads. The Mutts Nuts has still got heavy pressure from Wilfredo Flowers at the moment. JM Gruhl's still got Delore hunting the back of him as Delore's having a little feint to the inside into turn 5. Can't do anything there. Kurt's got CMC very close behind him. RDJ has also got Falgast and Ricky queuing up behind him at the moment. But Kurt keeping CMC at bay. RDJ has got Falgast and Ricky very close. Ayatel in the background has dropped off of these guys a little bit. So Ayatel maybe made a mistake there over the course of that previous lap. He's lost a bit of time there to these guys. But the Mutts Nuts has now gapped Wilfredo a little bit over the course of this lap. You can see he's got a bit of a cushion back to that Ferrari. JM Gruhl still keeping Delore just about at bay there in that battle for 4th and 5th. These two are well clear, about 5 seconds ahead of CMC, Kurt, RDJ, Falgast and Ricky. As we've lost Grandad Steve from the race, I think Grandad Steve's retired the car here on lap 5, so he's done for the session. Clearly the damage on the car was keeping him in the box for a bit too long, and he thought, nope, I'm not waiting that long, sorry boys, I'm out of here. And Grandad Steve, unfortunately for him, is out of the race. Delore still on the back of JM Gruhl, still hasn't been able to pressure him into a mistake. Wilfredo Flowers still close to the Mutts Nuts, but hasn't been able to force any dice there. CMC has got Kurt and RDJ looking to the inside of Kurt in towards turn 1. Kurt goes a little bit late on the brakes to keep ahead of him. A bit of a lock up there from Kurt. Oh, RDJ, big slide there. Massive slide from RDJ as Falgast has pitted. Falgast has just come into the pits. He was on the back of these guys before he came in. Ricky still keeping to the back of Kurt and RDJ at the moment. RDJ now really close on the back bumper there of Kurt, almost give him a tap in the rear as out of the arena they come. RDJ a bit wide, and that's given Kurt a little bit of breathing space there on the run down towards turn 5. Wilfredo Flowers still close on the back of the Mutts Nuts. JM Gruhl still keeping Delore at base. CMC there has got Kurt and RDJ still waiting in the wings with Ricky not too far behind. Lots going on except with the leader Richie, who's absolutely running away at the front. Only driver matching the pace of Richie at the moment is Bean Basher. These two both doing 153.4s last time around, so the two championship contenders, the fastest man out on track. Bean Basher will be hoping to get the undercut on these guys that are in front of him. I reckon Bean Basher could quite realistically get the jump on everybody up to 2nd place here. He could come out in P2 once these pit stops are done. He's going to be on a mission here, is Bean Basher, after a very difficult opening to the race. Wilfredo's still on the back of the Mutts Nuts. JM Gruhl's gapped Delore. Delore must have made a mistake there on that lap. He's still got CMC 7 seconds behind. CMC's got RDJ pretty close, but RDJ's dropped off a little bit off of CMC over the course of this lap. He's still got Kurt for company. Ayatel's got Stage GT looking to his inside coming through the valley, and they're side by side up towards the chicane, and Stage GT's looking to the outside, but Ayatel's going to keep it on the inside. No, Ayatel breaks a little bit early. Stage GT around the outside up into 10th place. CMC out of the last corner. RDJ and Kurt pretty close in contention here as they're coming over the line to complete their 5th laps of the race. Ricky there in the background has got 2 seconds back to Stage GT, but Ricky's dropped out of that battle for 6th place a little bit over this last lap or so. Mutts Nuts has got a reasonable buffer back to Wilfredo now, just over a second between those two, lapping pretty similarly on the previous lap, but Mutt's had a bit of a gap before that. JM Cool and Delore starting to reel in the Mutt's and Wilfredo a little bit. They were a couple of seconds quicker than the two guys occupying those final two podium spots. JM Cool and Delore really coming for the Mutt's and Wilfredo Flowers here. These two on a bit of a charge. As RDJ now ahead of Kurt up into 7th. And Stage GT still holding on ahead of ALTL. Ricky continues to drop off for the back of CMC, RDJ and Kurt. Kurt's now off to the back of RDJ, and RDJ now closing up onto the back of CMC for that P6 here. The Nuts has still got just under a second back to Wilfredo, so Wilfredo's gained a bit over the course of this lap. JM Gruhl and Delore still closing in on the Nuts and Wilfredo at this point. Only drivers to pit in this race, Beambasher, Hijoli and Falguest. Everybody else still got to come in and make their mandatory pit stop at some point throughout the course of this feature race. When they do it is up to them, but they've all got to do it at some point. Otherwise they will face the wrath of the stewards. Looks as though Airtel's wide. Oh, Airtel's had an incident there with Stage GT. Stage GT recovering there, and Beambasher keeping it out of harm's way. But I think Beambasher might have had a mistake on this lap, because he is dropped off of the leader a little bit. Gap was 36 back to Beambasher, it's now 40. And Ayatel's out of the race. He's retired the car, bit of damage on the car. Presumably not worth continuing on in this race, as we see CMC, RDJ, Kurt and Ricky already coming into the pits at the same time here at the end of lap 6. Beambasher though 40 seconds off of the leader. Pit stop around 30 seconds here at the Nurburgring GP course. So as it stands, he'd come out a little way behind Richie. But if he can get himself into second, he'd be minimising the points lost here in this race. Still not out of the question for him to win. If Richie makes a mistake, then who knows? Beambasher could still be in with a shout. So Falguest has jumped Kurt, CMC, RDJ and Ricky and Stage as well. So Falguest has had a decent pit window here. It's only about 8-9 seconds off of the back of Beambasher here is Falguest, so he's had a bit of a charge here since the early stages. He had a bit of a slow start to this feature race, but now Falguest is really getting the laps down, and we're starting to see the Falguest that we know and love here on the Motive channel. We've got Wilfredo still on the back of the Nuts here. These two separated by about half a second at this point. Wilfredo's got a couple of seconds back to JM Gruhl running in 4th place. JM Gruhl's got to Delore, and that's why, because Delore's made a mistake. Delore is round coming through the coming in towards the final sector, that right hander before the valley. He's just binned it, and I think he might have gone into the wall a bit. Doesn't have too much damage. He's still got both his headlights and looks to have got away without too much damage there. Beambasher's previous lap was a 158. That's why he lost so much time to Richie. Richie consistently in the 153s. That time around was a 53.6 from Richie. Richie about a net 10 seconds ahead of Beambasher once he comes in, but who knows, Richie might get a long pit stop. If he does, then the gap could be about 5 seconds back to Beambasher once all is said and done. We've lost another driver from the race here, so we're down to 12 here. And we've lost Stage GT. Stage GT's retired from the race. What a shame there for him. As the Nuts is now into the pits. Beambasher coming out the last corner. Nuts has already been and gone out of his pit box, so this might be close actually between the Nuts and Beambasher. Nuts could hold on to what is possibly a net P2 here. Wilfredo could also be on course for jumping Beambasher, but Beambasher into turn 1. And the Nuts is about 2-3 seconds ahead of Beambasher. So Beambasher definitely on course for picking up a podium here in this race, which would be a great result for him when you consider the first lap that he had was down in P10 halfway around the first lap. But Richie leads by 10 seconds to Wilfredo Flowers at the moment. Wilfredo's got a couple of seconds back to JM Gruhl. These guys all still need to pit. Everybody in the top 4 down to Delore still needs to come into the pits. The Nuts has been in. He's the highest runner of those who have pitted. Beambasher has also been in, so has Hijoli. Falguest has been in. CMC, Kurt, RDJ and Ricky have all been in. As we see RDJ having a look to the inside of Kurt coming into turn 5, but can't quite do it at the moment. Trying to get the cut back here out of 6. Can he get the run down towards the hairpin? He's going to try and duck to the inside. Is he trying to distract him or is it a little bit? No, he's going to just keep his line. He's not going to try and throw any feints to the inside, as we see Kurt holding his line very nicely there, not being phased by that Porsche in his rearview mirrors in any way, shape or form, and for the time being Kurt staying ahead of RDJ. These two having a good little scrap as RDJ's a bit wide there, coming out of the exit of the Schumacher S. Is he going to keep it pinned and risk it? Oh! Takes the advertising hoarding with him there. That could have been a lot worse for RDJ than it was, to be fair. I think he might have a little bit of damage on the right side of the car, but I don't think that's going to affect him too much, to be fair. So as far as damage goes, I think he's got away quite lightly there. Falguest has got a penalty, so has Kurt, so has RDJ. Falguest is still about 8 or 9 seconds behind Beambasher, so those two pretty even at this point. Last time around, Richie's still the fastest man, half a second quicker than his championship rival Beambasher. Beambasher's target in this race, it's got to be second in this one. Beambasher's got to aim for second and minimise the points that Richie gains. If Beambasher were to come second in this race, Richie would only be 25 points in the lead of the championship. And when you consider that after this round we've still got 6 races left to go, there will still be, let me just work it out, there'll still be 220 odd points available in the championship. So 25 points, not a whole lot when you think about it. This clearly a track that Richie likes. Beambasher just needs to damage limitation here in this one. If he can bring it home in P2, 25 points with 220 still on the table, not a bad showing for Beambasher. Needs to keep his head here. He's in a good position here in this race. Richie though leads by 10 seconds, has controlled this feature race just like he did in the sprint. Wilfredo Flowers running in second, has got a 3-second gap back to JM Gruhl now. Delore still need to come in as well. The top 4 still need to come in. The Mutts Nuts running highest of those who have made their pit stop already. Then it's Beambasher, Hijoli. Everybody from 5th downwards has already been in and made their mandatory pit stop. So everybody in those positions doesn't need to come in again. Still Richie, Wilfredo, JM Gruhl and Delore not pulling the trigger. Delore staying out this time around. These guys remaining coy on the pit stop strategies. Pete Bibb in the comments says he's supporting all of the drivers, all of his colleagues from the Touring Car Championship on a Friday night. So that'd be Mutts Nuts, Beambasher, Falguest. Grandesty obviously out of the race, so he won't be receiving the support of Pete Bibb, but Pete Bibb very much getting behind the guys who he races with on a Friday night in the touring cars. Of those touring car races, it's currently Mutts Nuts furthest up. Oh no, but Mutts Nuts is dropped behind Beambasher, so Beambasher now up into 5th place. That could be a net for second, or maybe third. Second, third or fourth. Beambasher's going to be quite close with Wilfredo and JM Gruhl once they come into the pits. But I reckon Beambasher will come out in second. Obviously we don't know yet, it's not 100%, but I think Beambasher will come out in second once Wilfredo and JM Gruhl come in. And the race leader Richie's in here at the end of lap 10, so the race leader pulls the trigger and he's just coming into the pit lane now. What does Wilfredo do? Wilfredo stays out and will inherit the race lead here, so Wilfredo will lead lap 10 of this race. I think it's going to be close actually. Richie just coming over the line, so Richie leads lap 10. Wilfredo, if he stays out at the end of lap 11, will lead a lap, but he didn't lead this lap because Richie just crossed the line in the lead. So Wilfredo up into the lead now. JM Gruhl comes in, so he follows suit with Richie. So now we get to see where JM Gruhl is in relation to Wilfredo Flowers, and also this will be quite indicative of where Beambasher might end up in relation to Wilfredo once Wilfredo comes in, because Beambasher just coming into the final corner now. We'll be hoping he can get at least second place here in this race. Richie's already at the end of the, he's already coming into turn 2 now. Where is Beambasher though? As we see there is JM Gruhl just coming out of the pits. Beambasher, it's going to be close here with JM Gruhl. I think he's done him. Yep, Beambasher's got himself ahead of JM Gruhl up into 3rd place for now. But his gap to JM Gruhl is about 3 seconds. Oh, we see JM Gruhl there turning in on the Muttnuts, and Muttnuts there gets it. Oh my goodness me, that was close there with Jolie, but Muttnuts gets it going once again. He's going to lose out there. Falguest swoops round up into 6th place there, around the outside of the Muttnuts. But Muttnuts having a big moment there. Beambasher those 3 seconds ahead of JM Gruhl, and JM Gruhl was 3 seconds behind Wilfredo. So as it stands, Beambasher will be neck and neck with Wilfredo Flowers once Wilfredo makes his pit stop. This could be very tight between these two. We said it, Beambasher's going to want to minimise the points gained by Richie. Richie's got this race win pretty much in the bag. There's not much that anybody can do about that now. He's got 15 seconds to Beambasher. But the big question is, can Beambasher finish ahead of Wilfredo Flowers for 2nd place? Wilfredo's staying out for the time being. He's not pitting this time, so he will lead lap 11 of this race for the feature race for round 9 of the GTEs here at Motive on the PlayStation 4 and 5 on Project Cars 2. 3 laps left to go here at the Nurburgring GP course here in the cold Eifel Mountains here in Germany at the end of November. Gap between Wilfredo and Beambasher 31 seconds. That's about a pit stop as far as I've got it. So at this stage it's going to be pretty close. Beambasher needs to keep the hammer down, keep pushing. He's managing to pull away from JM Gruhl over the last couple of the laps. We've lost the Muttnuts. The Muttnuts has retired from the race. What a shame there for him. He's out of this one with a couple of laps left to go. Bit of a late retirement there from the Muttnuts. But that's his race done and dusted there. But Beambasher closing a bit. The gap's now under 31 seconds between Wilfredo and Beambasher. Richie's got just under 15 seconds back to Beambasher. It's going to be close between Wilfredo and Beambasher, that's all I can say. JM Gruhl running in P4 at the moment. It's got 5 seconds back to Hijoli. Can Hijoli's maybe reeling JM Gruhl in his final couple of the laps? We'll have to see. He's currently on a bit of a charge at the moment. It's Hijoli. Has had very quick pace in the qualifying sessions, but the races have not gone to plan for him at all. CMC still going in P6 right now. Once all is said and done, he'll be about 30 seconds off for the lead. So not a bad showing for CMC in this feature race for sure. Delore there in P7 had a promising start to the race, but a couple of spins put paid to his chances in this race. RDJ still going in 8th, Kurt 9th, and Ricky completing the top 10. Good points he'll get for that, as we see Wilfredo into the pits now. So here is the moment of truth. Has Beambasher done enough in his outlaps, or is Wilfredo going to hold on for P2? Richie will come over the line here at the end of lap 12. 2 laps left to go here for the championship leader. It's going to be most likely 2 from 2 here for our French driver, our former GT3 champion here at Motive, as well as LMP2 champion, current leader of this GTE championship. Can he make it? 3 different categories championships won here at Motive. That would be an incredible feat if he does. Wilfredo's out of the pits. Beambasher's coming over the line. Wilfredo has jumped Beambasher in the pit stops. Wilfredo coming into the turn 1 now. Beambasher just coming up on the scene, so Wilfredo's got the jump there on Beambasher up into 2nd place. Wilfredo must have got an electric pit stop there, or rather not very electric, because an electric pit stop would actually be longer. But 5 seconds now separating Wilfredo and Beambasher now. So Beambasher are currently on course for a P3 here in this race. As it stands, he'll lose 9 points to Richie in this one, so the gap would be 28 points, which isn't too bad. Not bad at all, with 6 races left in the season. Still not an unassailable gap in any way, shape or form for Beambasher. Theoretically, if he were to win the last 6 races of the season, he would still win the championship. So, you know, even though that's unlikely, seeing as 6 wins in a row would be insane. But it's just got a message there from the Muttnuts, not happy about some of the conduct out on track. But yeah, I mean the championship battle's still very much on. 28 points is nothing when you consider it's 35 for a win and 2 races per event. 3 events still left. 72 points up for grabs per round. You know, you've still got 220 points left on the table, so 28 isn't much. in terms of a gap, but that will be the gap between Richie and Beambasher as Richie's about to start his final lap. Wilfredo's lost it! Wilfredo's round coming through the final chicane. Where is Beambasher? Beambasher will see Wilfredo just up ahead of him now and might sense an opportunity here to take second place here at the end of this race, but Beambasher has a penalty. So that might compromise his ability to take second place, but maybe Wilfredo's tyres starting to go off a little bit now. He's done a long stint on those soft tyres and maybe they're starting to go off ever so slightly. Beambasher within a second and a half of Wilfredo as they're starting the final lap of the race into turn 1. Richie's got a 14-second gap back to these two who are going to fight it out on the final lap. If Wilfredo makes another mistake, then Beambasher will be right there on the scene to take P2. This is going to go down to the wire between Wilfredo and Beambasher for second place here in this feature race. On board with the man currently sat second in the championship, former champion of the GTE division here at Motive, is Beambasher. Won the championship in the Porsche back in season 2. I'll let you figure out. It doesn't take a genius to figure out who Beambasher is. But he's within a couple of seconds of Wilfredo. Wilfredo responded a little bit in that first sector there. Where's Richie? Richie's coming out of the Schumacher S. He's coming in towards the final sector of the lap near enough now. JM Gruhl still running in poor place. Has got a couple of seconds back to Hijoli. You can see Hijoli visibly closing the gap to him. Delore running in 6th, has got 4 seconds back to CMC. Kurt running in 8th, has got Ricky a long way behind him, in about 30 seconds between those two. RDJ's parked up there on the exit of the final corner, so he's not going to be going any further in this race. Richie though, in towards the final chicane. RDJ, be careful mate, I know there's drivers coming through, please do not get involved with them, please do not get involved with the leaders. As tempted as you might be, Richie coming up towards the line, flash the lights here from the championship leader and double race winner tonight here at the Nurburgring. What a performance from Richie. Wilfredo is coming into the final corner and it's going to be a second place finish here for Wilfredo Flowers. Had good pace here in this one, up towards the line he comes, flash the lights from the Ferrari, P2 there, Beambasher comes up towards the line and it's going to complete the podium there in 3rd place and only loses 9 points to Richie in this feature race. The gap's still pretty close in the championship, 28 points with 216 still to play for this season. This championship is still wide open between Richie and Beambasher. JM Gruhl comes over to take P4 ahead of Hijoli in 5th. Hijoli really reeled him in at the end there, gained 1.2 seconds on the last lap, but too little too late for Hijoli. Delore up towards the line, it's going to be a P6 here for Delore. CMC coming over in 7th place, not a bad result there for him. Some good points there for the man in the BMW, our American driver there, putting on a good show. Kurt comes over in 8th place, his debut in the BMW, also Delore's debut in the BMW. It must be said, those two have done a good job tonight and we'll be looking to try and build on that in future races. Ricky's coming in towards the final chicane, 9th place here for Ricky in the number 68 Ferrari. Not a bad result. RDJ's obviously finished the race a lap down in P10. Ricky will be the last driver to finish in 9th place. Congratulations to Richie, Wilfredo and Beambasher, the podium finishers.
Wilfredo Flowers, mate, you need to learn how to drive properly, you fucking dickhead. Fuck the life, I didn't move out of the way at turn 1, he wiped me out. Fucking wipes everyone out all race. 2 races I've heard in group chat. Oh, Wilfredo Flowers. You need to keep an eye on him, man. It should be our problem to look after him.
I'll save the replay, mate. I'll save the replay and I'll ride on board. I'll check his on board. Let me get the replay and I'll check his on board. Yes.
Normally has a Michael after the race.
I'll save the replay. Rob just whacked you into the hairpin. Oh my. Mate, I watched that and I just thought, fucking hell, their party chat's probably going nuts in a minute.
Yeah, so that put my first lap up. And that was 7 seconds after my first lap pace from the race before. And then after, I span again, 5 seconds again. So that was 15 seconds, and that would have put me with Richie when I come out of the pits. That was it.
Right, okay, you there, mate?
Oh, mate, leave him alone. He looked alright for me. I don't know. He seemed alright to me on the stream. I'll watch his onboard.
No, mate, he's dirty as fuck.
I'll watch his onboard. I've saved the replay. I'll check it out and I'll see. I'll watch his onboard. I'll check it out. I'll have a look, boys. If he's